Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, it's a beautiful day in the Ozarks, and it's weird. Like, we're finally getting some normal weather around here. We haven't had such a thing so far this year. For the most part, we had some like crazy, really cold weather, lots of snow. Then all of a sudden, it just went from snow to the middle of summer. Then it got really dry when we should be, swimming around in mud. And then all of a sudden, then we got the rain. And now we've got kind of, moderate, cool, nice, little bits of rain here and there. So it's all over the board. I won't go into any reasons why I think that's happening. I'm sure a lot of you will have your own opinions. But I want to talk about something that I think it's very important, personally. Maybe you don't. I think it has some major implications. I'm not 100% sure what exactly is going on with it. But with all the things going on in the news right now that people are talking about, I think this may be the more significant one. And that is, there is an appearance, appearance, that the United States, through the president, is possibly ending alliances with Israel. It was reported yesterday, and I mentioned this yesterday, so I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but it was mentioned yesterday that the president is very upset with Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, that he's not returning his calls. They've ended all communication. The peace deal, or ceasefire, not peace, ceasefire kind of deal that the United States made with the Houthis in Yemen, completely left Israel out of it. So basically, as long as the Houthis leave the United States assets alone, then the United States won't attack them, and the Houthis can do whatever they want to with Israel, and the United States is backing away. The United States has also communicated with Saudi Arabia that, we will help you with a nuclear program, and we're not asking that you normalize relationships with Israel anymore. This morning, the Pentagon stated that the Secretary of Defense has canceled his trip to Israel. So that's interesting. From what I can tell, and of course this is being reported by the mainstream news media and people, insiders and stuff, so it could all be a bunch of baloney, right? That Donald Trump is upset with the prime minister for a few reasons. Number one, Israel is not kind of holding up its end of the bargain in regards to Gaza and Yemen and Iran. And they're saying that President Trump is upset because the prime minister is not being respectful, that he's trying to push his weight around, and he's trying to, push America to do this or that, and that he's basically offended that the prime minister isn't respectful to him. And so this is what's happened. So let's get into this, because there's a lot of different tentacles that could be happening. Number one, what's happening, we may not even really understand. Maybe it's true. And Trump has said, I don't want to have nothing to do with Israel anymore. I'm mad at them. They can do on their own. They owe us so much. We do everything for them. Done. That seems strange and sudden. Remember, this is the guy that's supposed to be able to do business deals and peace negotiations, and you take decades-long relationship, regardless of the president and the political party, and you just end it because you've been offended by someone. That seems strange, but it's not without possibility, right? One thing, and I know some of you just hate Donald Trump and you just do anything you can to bash him. That's not what this is. On the world stage, regardless of whether you like a political leader or not, there needs to be some consistency and some trust built. And when we have a president that seems to be flip-flopping his allegiances, whether he's the buddy of Putin and anti-Zelensky, and then all of a sudden switches around, and now, Putin is, the bad guy again, and we're going to, support Ukraine again. It's this back and forth, and it's very dizzying. And I would say that could potentially damage the potential for peace and for trade deals and things like that, because, at some point, these world leaders that are feeling like they're being held captive by the US dollar and the United States military dominance and things like that, are going to see that we're all over the board. You can't believe anything that he says. You can't trust that he will, keep your, allegiance with this deal, because, he got offended and back and forth. So that's going to hurt things. This also could be a ploy, potentially, to back away from Israel and to see what happens, back away from Israel and give Iran what they might think is the opportunity to attack Israel. If they think that we're going to hesitate, maybe not even completely not, because I think in the end we would still defend Israel, but there may be a hesitation, and if Iran thinks that there's some kind of hesitation there, they may take that as an opportunity to move on Israel. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're trying to, who knows what's going on. But I think this has major, major implications. I think it has biblical implications. I mean, right now it looks like the whole world, the entire world, is turning against Israel. And you may have your own opinions about Israel, but the Bible talks about the whole world turning its back on Israel. So who knows? Who knows what's going on? But I think that this has very serious implications. You could make a huge case that a lot of the destabilization in the Middle East is because of Israel over the last many decades. And maybe this needs to happen. On the other hand, if this does happen the way it's starting to look, if it's real, it could destabilize things even more, because it could cause major upsets in the region. I don't know. I'll admit, I'm not exactly sure what is going on here. Is it just simply that Donald Trump's feelings were hurt? Something was said behind the scenes, something was done, and he's angry. And so he's, instead of being kind of presidential and diplomatic, he's just taking it personal and handling the situation in that manner. I don't know. And I'm not trying to point that this guy's bad or this guy or this. It's just, it is what it is. And right now, on the surface of what we're hearing, yesterday when this news first broke, it was broke by Israel. And the United States at that point really hadn't said anything. And they haven't said a whole lot yet. But as of this morning, it's starting to look like that it is a real story, because the Secretary of Defense has canceled his trip, and the United States is, basically not going to defend Israel with the Houthis. In fact, the Defense Department said, the Pentagon said that basically if the Houthis strike a target inside Israel and there is American people or assets that are targeted and struck, then they would retaliate. But other than that, Israel's on its own. And so it does seem like that this story that originated in Israeli news is legitimate at this point. I mean, other than the fact that it could all be fake because there's so much lying going on. Who knows how this is going to develop? And like I said, with all the other stuff, I understand there's stuff in the news, this trade deal with UK, which at least right now looks like it's not much different than what we had before. The president is coming out now saying that the tariffs on China might be reduced down to 80%. He said that sounds like a more reasonable number, which is still quite high, which will still cause prices to increase and the availability of things to come down. Maybe not quite as much, but still, that's still pretty significant. There's a lot of other little things going on, but this is different. This is something that I don't think most people predicted. I don't know that it was on anyone's bingo card. Maybe it's just another distraction. Maybe it's just some kind of ploy. It's possible that it's just to get Israel to come to the table more. I don't know. But if this continues to play out, it could have some significant ripples, not just in the Middle East, but around the world. Because right now it looks like the United States is backing away at least somewhat from its relationship with Israel, which up until now, Donald Trump has been praised as one of the greatest friends of Israel as a president, maybe ever, since 1947. They've produced coins with his image on it. They've, called him another type of Messiah, not like Jesus Messiah, but a type of savior of Israel. All kinds of stuff. I mean, there's been implications or talks in Israel that he could be a king of Israel, all these kinds of things. And then all of a sudden, just like that, we've kind of turned our back on Israel. And this is not typically done in global affairs. China and Russia, when they're your ally, they're your ally. And that's been pretty made clear over the last, months and years that, they stick with you. This one is different. And so I think it's something to keep watch on. Something is up. And it may not be good. And so even though we don't have the answers, we may not know specifically. We all may all have our own theories, but none of us really actually know what's going on. Just the fact that it's a dramatic different turn from what is the norm. It's just another reason why we should always stay prepared, because events and things are so they're so much changing right now. It's getting hard to predict because we live in a very, very chaotic time. And so we need to stay on top of things, in a state of readiness, really, because events can change in a moment's notice, and that can potentially directly affect you. So you need to keep your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.